What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Training Camp Podcast. It's me again in one of the the three same shirts that I always wear. I've been reviewing the tape over the past, just every episode. I wear, this shirt, the Training Camp Podcast hoodie, shout out Parker, my other, black t-shirt, and the People Like Grapes purple shirt. And then I think I've worn my white V-neck once and my white baseball tee once. But other than that, it's the same four shirts. But I mean, hey, we're in a pandemic. I don't go out that often. So, and also I don't like wearing long sleeves in the podcast because this is weird. But I like the arms to show because then it don't look like I'm just all this. Because then everything starts to blend together. Anyways, you guys are here for sports, not for me to talk about that bullshit. So the ongoing bit with the podcast is I'll talk about something, and then the moment the show gets uploaded on YouTube, what I talked about either has an update or just doesn't happen at all. So for instance, I talked about my trade predictions last week, and then the world blew up and went on fire. So we're gonna hop into the news of the week just right now. We're going to talk about the NBA trade in a minute, but yeah, the NBA trade happened, the trade deadline happened, and some of the biggest moves happened. I'm not going to talk about them in news of the week because we're going to talk about them later in the show. And yeah, I'm just going to say the deadline happened. I got some right, I got some very wrong. Going into other news, the U.S. national men's team failed to qualify for the Olympics for the third straight time. Love how we are good at everything but sports that are international, that weren't made in America. Yeah, we're good at basketball. Other countries are getting a bit better at basketball, though. We're great at football, and we're good at baseball, but we're losing our footing in baseball. We suck at soccer. Rugby we're okay at. And then I'm forgetting, we don't even have a cricket team, I don't think. So yeah, once you get into the international stuff, we are shit. It's kind of sad that, we're one of the biggest countries in the world and we can't even qualify for the Olympics, but it is what it is. I will stand by this. The women's team will always be better than the men's team. The women's team is way better. They always have been, most likely always will be. Shout out to the women's national team. You guys fucking kick ass, and you guys are always not only staring down the other countries of the world, but you're staring down the men's team. So good on you guys. Other news, there were trades that happened too. Not only trades, but there were I don't know why I said trades. There were buyouts and signings that happened. I don't know, LaMarcus Aldridge to the Nets. Why? What has the NBA become? Seriously. So now the Nets have Durant, they have Harden, they have Kyrie, and they have, speaking of Kyrie, I know I'm not gonna talk about, but I said, Vucevic got traded to the Bulls. You look what the Bulls got for traded for Vucevic. Yeah, the Kyrie trade that I've been pitching 100% what could have happened. But they got Harden, Durant, Kyrie, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge. Not to count, they got Spencer Dinwiddie. He is hurt, but they still have him. And they also have DeAndre Jordan now coming off of the bench. They have Joe Harris, who that team is freaking. If you. They're a lock for the finals. Who's beating them? They're a lock. I mean, they're already winning games without Kyrie and Durant. Harden's basically carrying them through the regular season, essentially. What is that team? I don't want to hear any more things about the Warriors because look at this. Look at this. All to beat LeBron. I feel so bad for LeBron. He literally just wants to play his game. Everyone has to form super teams just to stop him. Other buyouts that happened. Yeah, Andre Drummond. Speaking of LeBron, he's going to the Lakers. Yeah, you kind of need that to happen. The rumor was either the Clippers, the Lakers, or the Nets. Could you imagine if Drummond went to the Nets? It'd be over. You just write the season off, right? But yeah, no, he went to the Lakers instead. I think it's awesome. It gives him actual competition in the NBA. Now the Nets can't be a guaranteed finals win. But I actually really like Drummond going to the Lakers, honestly. I'm not really going to talk about LaMarcus going to the Nets because we already know about that. Like, yes, we know what LaMarcus offers. We know that the Nets are now godly. With Drummond with the Lakers, though, I think it's cool because he's like not an upgraded version of JaVale McGee / Dwight Howard from last season. He's like 7 upgrades above those guys because, I mean, he's the defensive or just the rebounding leader of the past, 4 years essentially. He's amazingly physical. He's a big body. He's like 7 foot, 7'1". And so it's nice for them to have that. The one thing is he's not a shooter. He's basically like Rudy Gobert. He's only scoring when he's close to the basket, and he's just really good at rebounding. Except the way he's not like Rudy is defensively. Drummond's all right defensively. Don't get me wrong, but he's not on the Gobert level. But I think it definitely does help them. I will say this: when the Lakers have to play a team like the Nuggets, who now have Aaron Gordon with Jokic, that's a stretch front. Like I was talking about this last week. That's a stretched court right there. So Drummond is not very good at getting to the perimeter. So I think I just said so like 400 times. I think when it comes to playing teams like that, Drummond will probably be playing less minutes, but overall, I think Drummond going to the Lakers is great. I talked about this about a month ago when it was rumored that he was going to get bought out by the Cavaliers. I mean, the Lakers were just a perfect fit for him. I know he could have gone to the Nets, but I think for him personally, he's still young. He's going to be playing for a contract, and so if he wants to get a big contract like he most likely will, I think the Lakers are definitely the best spot, and also just being under LeBron will help him out a lot. Drummond and Rudy Gobert are always so surprising me because it's like, offensively, I'm going to compare them. Because they don't spend the offseason working on jump shooting. Because I know that's technically not their game, but if it was, you'd be looking at MVP candidates. Like, look at Jokic. Like, Jokic slimmed down and became an MVP candidate. And so you look at Drummond and Gobert, who are already, like, slim down essentially, but also still have muscle. They're not just skinny, they have muscle. You give them a 3-point shot with like Gobert's defensive ability and his athleticness for a center. Yeah, that's an MVP candidate. So I don't understand why they don't work on their perimeter game during the offseason or the season. So maybe LeBron will be like, hey Drummond, let's get you a jump shot. All right, that'll help the team out a lot. But yeah, no, so Drummond went to the Lakers. That's crazy. The NFL officially approved the 17-game season. Every team now will be playing one team from the opposite conference. I believe you're playing a team that finished at the same level as the team you're playing a team that finished at the same division ranking that you did. So for instance, like the Steelers are playing the Seahawks, they both finished first in their division. In that case, since if it's the same divisions in that case, then the Cardinals would play the Bengals, the Rams would play the Ravens, and then the Niners would play the Browns. No, the Niners would play the Ravens, and the Browns would play the Rams. So that's essentially how that works. It just goes in order. So that's going to be kind of interesting because like you have teams who definitely got better who are going to be playing worse teams. Like you look at the Patriots, they're going to be playing a third-ranked team in the division. I think their division is the AFC South. No, that's the division that they're playing every single team in. So I don't know who the Patriots are playing, but obviously it is a third-ranked team. So that's kind of like it should be quote-unquote a guaranteed win if it's a team that hasn't gotten better. But like you look at the Patriots, you look at the Cardinals who finished last in the division. They're obviously playing the Bengals. If I did that, the mental math right. But yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know. I mean, they're gonna make a ton of money. That's what it's gonna do. And with the new contracts between ESPN and ABC and Fox, CBS, NBC, all these and Amazon, the NFL is going to be making a ton of money, and I also hope the players do too, because the players are putting their bodies. I know that they're technically taking away a preseason game, but that doesn't offset it, because for preseason, the regular the starters don't play in preseason. They play like one quarter and then that's it. So just because they took away a preseason game, it's the same amount of games. No, that's not how that works. But the players are basically putting up their bodies on the line for one extra game. So shout out to them, and I hope that they stay healthy. I'm curious. One of the things that's being talked about is like if load management is going to be a thing in the NFL, which kind of interesting. Like, hey, we're 2 games out of this team. Like, if we only get the 2 seed, who cares? But that's another thing. It's like there's only 1 bye now instead of 2, so that kind of, I don't know. I think it's really interesting. It's going to shake up the season, and like personally for me, I haven't lived through something this big in the NFL yet. I was born after the 2 teams were added in, the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens, and all the shifting of the conferences. So I this is like my cool monumental moment for the NFL. Other NFL news, Tyler Lockett was extended for 4 years at it was $69 million. Nice, but I rounded up to $70 million. I think he got $37 million guaranteed. Okay. I don't know. He started the season really, really good, and then he really fizzled out when DK kind of started to really just pop off. I think, though, there was a correlation when Tyler was doing good. It was when Russ was kind of allowed to quote-unquote cook. So we'll see if they let him cook again this season and if Tyler Lockett is able to benefit off of that. Other than that, it's a little pricey of a contract, but I think they're just trying to satisfy Russ to make sure Russ doesn't want to be traded. And then the big news. The big news. A trade happened. And I'm not going to use this as news of the day. We're going to transition into the first segment of the show. San Fran was like, hey, third overall pick, Miami. Give me that. So San Francisco is now the third overall pick. They traded with Miami, who Miami then was like, oh, what's that? We can go back to 6 because Philly wants to go back? All right, cool. So now you have San Francisco number 3 in the draft. You have Miami at number 6, and you have Philadelphia at number 12. San Francisco gave up a lot. I'm not going to talk about the implications with the Jets and why they didn't trade for 2. What I'm going to talk about, though, I don't do this very often. I'm going to show you guys a clip. And this is a clip of GM and head coach of the 49ers. We got the GM, I can't remember his freaking name, and then we have head coach Kyle Shanahan. So just watch this clip, and then we'll talk about it.
You know, things are looking good. We'd like to make this move, but you know, we also don't want to say goodbye to Jimmy. We think he's shown we can get to a Super Bowl with him. We can play at a high level, and we don't think those two things have to be mutually exclusive. And so the opportunity to trade up and possibly get a guy that can be a big part of our future and keep Jimmy, who we're very high on, and is you know, I think some positive things are happening this offseason for. You know, that's kind of the plan we arrived at, and we're very excited. It was, you know, a stated goal that we needed to come out with the quarterback position being stronger this year, and I think we've put ourselves in a opportunity to make that happen with this move.
When you bring in a starting quarterback, I mean, when you bring in a rookie quarterback, to me it's always better, especially on the team that you have. If you got a veteran starter there already who you like and you're comfortable winning with, that's usually the direction you want to go, and not throw someone else out into the fire until they're fully ready. And that's the situation we're at. You know, if you look at free agency, if it goes the other way around and you do things differently, maybe. But right now, Jimmy, it's going to be hard to find a quarterback that gives us a better chance to win than Jimmy right now, especially even a rookie in the draft. So that's what you look into. Now, if someone wanted something for that and it can make your team better in a lot of other ways, you listen to that, but it also depends on how good you feel about that rookie. And we're not there yet right now. And odds are we probably won't be. That's why we're happy that we don't have to be that way. We got a guy in here who we know we can win with, a guy that our players love, that we love. And we're excited to have him this year, and we're excited to have a hell of a quarterback right behind him, learning from when the time's his.
So, yeah, they basically were like, yeah, we're taking a quarterback. And that quarterback's going to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year so that they can learn the system. Are we just being honest at press conferences now? Because if so, that's awesome. Like, I don't know how Jimmy Garoppolo feels, but they were like, yep, this is our plan. We're probably going to take a quarterback. The rumor is Mac Jones. Why? If they take Mac Jones, San Francisco, you could have stayed where you were, honestly, and still gotten Mac Jones, because he's not going to go in the top 10. He's not. He's just not a top 10 talent. This isn't a shot at Mac Jones either. I just think Mac Jones for me was a second-round talent. Yeah, he put up stats, but he also had one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver. I mean, the freaking Heisman winner, for God's sakes, on his team. You have the highest ranked prospects at O-line. So, yeah, you're going to succeed in Alabama's system. He's just not athletic for me, and the game is definitely shifting to a more athletic type of quarterback. So, don't take Mac Jones. For me, I think the best bet, it sounds like the Jets are probably going to take Zach Wilson, so you either have Trey Lance or you Justin Fields. I really like Trey Lance. I was really hoping he would fall to the Steelers, but that's definitely not going to happen. I think the Niners should take Trey Lance instead of Justin Fields. I know Justin Fields did have a season. I also love Justin Fields, don't get me wrong, but Trey Lance is like he's kind of like Josh Allen. I'm not going to say 2.0, I'm just going to say 1.0. I think he's going to be a very similar player to Josh Allen. I mean, he's big. He played in a cold weather college at North Dakota State University. He's mobile, and he's got a hell of a cannon. He's got a cannon of an arm, and so he's athletic. He's also really tough, and I think that's just perfect. I know you're technically in California for most of the games in that Western division, so you could afford to take a quarterback who's used to like the warm weather, but I think having a cold weather quarterback is great, especially for like the playoff games. Like, you want someone that has played in the cold weather. And I just think, like, I know the joke is that Kirk Cousins is the perfect quarterback for Shanahan's system because Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins. But I think if you can get an athletic quarterback with Kyle Shanahan, I mean, Kyle Shanahan got Matt Ryan an MVP. No disrespect against Matt Ryan, but like that was all Kyle Shanahan. Like, yeah, I mean, I know Matt Ryan puts up numbers every single year, but that season, that Super Bowl, like, okay, we'll be real. That Super Bowl, they probably that Super Bowl was also on Kyle Shanahan a little bit too. But like he got Matt Ryan an MVP. So I think with an athletic quarterback, I also think it's really smart to sit him behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year. Like, yeah, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo probably is not having high trade value right now because it seems like, oh, you're gonna take a quarterback. Why would we offer you shit for Garoppolo if you're just gonna replace him eventually? I mean, also, San Francisco might do a smart thing. Like, let's say they start the season 7-2, and Garoppolo's on fire, and you do have Trey Lance or Justin Fields behind him. All right, cool. They're looking good in practices, and the trade deadline's approaching. All right, well, and teams are offering firsts or like high seconds for Jimmy Garoppolo. Cool, we'll trade him. Like, that's another smart thing to do. I think the Jets might do something similar. I don't know if I'll talk about that eventually, but I think that's kind of smart. You just see, all right, cool, Jimmy Garoppolo's doing good, and then on the flip side, let's say they start 3-6, you know, and they're like, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't look like it. We're just going to throw the rookie in and see how he does. And then the rookie does great. Then cool, you can just either release Garoppolo or flip him for something super bad, like a 7. Just literally like a compensatory 7. Or maybe the Patriots, because apparently they're interested again, will give you like a 5 for him. So yeah, I think the Niners are in a great spot. I do think trading to the 3 was a little ambitious because Miami, you put them into If Miami had kept that 3rd overall pick, they're in a really rough scenario. Like, do we take a quarterback or do we just ride with Tua? And so I think that Miami was really, really trying to trade that pick, honestly. So I think Miami. Let's talk about Miami actually for a quick second. So we talked about San Francisco. Miami, they're at the 12th pick. They're definitely rolling with Tua at this point, which I think is good. I'm not really big. I was high on Tua last year. Because you guys know, like, my second favorite team is essentially the Chargers. And so when me and JP were both watching the draft, not together, but he was, you know, we were Snapchatting and FaceTime about it. I was like, yeah, hopefully you guys get Tua because I wanted the Chargers to be good. And then, well, the Chargers did get the better quarterback, but and then the Dolphins took Tua, and I was like, oh, damn, that sucks. Like, good for the Dolphins, but that sucks for the Chargers. But it turns out, like, Tua didn't have that great of a rookie season. But I still think you don't want to give up on a quarterback after their first season. Like, I feel bad for Josh Rosen for that exact reason. Teams were essentially giving up on him after his rookie season when he was set up to fail. I think Tua, he wasn't set up to fail, but he didn't play that many games. He also was coming off an injury. His weapons weren't amazing. His weapons were developing. He's in a developing system. So you definitely get him in a second year and see what you have in him for another year. I just realized I'm kind of hella low on the frame, so I apologize about that. Duh, we got lower. But yeah, so I think roll with Tua, definitely. And again, 7 or 8 games in, you see he's not the guy. Trade him for some picks. I know next year's quarterback draft class is not that good, honestly. You're going to have to wait another year, but you can get a bridge quarterback. It looks like Teddy Bridgewater will probably be available for super cheap. You can get like a bridge type of quarterback like that. I mean, Sam Darnold might be cheap next season. You never know. You just need a quarterback to last you a season. And if you guys were able to go, I think you guys went 9-7 this year. You guys could probably do it in a transition with a quarterback. So roll with Tua. I think at 6, they should take Kyle Pitts, who just ran a 4.40. I know it's unofficial, but still. I think Kyle Pitts is a great pick for them. I do like Mike Gesicki, but it's also Kyle Pitts. So yes, I would take Kyle Pitts 100% at that point. And then you also have the pick, I think it's either 18 or 19, which is like their actual pick. Talk about freaking turning Laramie Tunsil into a gold mine. I mean, he was essentially the Herschel Walker for them because they turned him into the first, what was the 3rd overall pick, which now they got a bunch of 1st, 2nds, and 3rds from San Francisco for that pick. So now they have even more. Good on you, Miami. You guys, your GMing is elite. So yeah, I think they're just gonna roll to it, which I think is smart. Honestly, I think trading back up to 6 was kind of also kind of ambitious. Like, that's a little high. You probably could have waited like maybe to 8, and you wouldn't have to give up that much. You didn't give up that much anyways, but. Yeah, no, I think Miami's going to roll 2, which I definitely agree with. And then now let's roll to the 3rd team that was involved in this whole situation, Philadelphia. Philadelphia traded down to 6. Now, there were rumors, apparently, that Philadelphia wanted the Dolphins pick at 3, which means they are not confident in Jalen Hurts. But Philadelphia also has the most draft picks in this draft, so maybe they take someone in the second, third, or fourth round. Yeah, I'm sure Kyle Trask will be available. Sam Ehlinger will be available. There's the Stanford quarterback people are talking about. So if they're not confident, they can take someone in the later rounds who won't cost them as much. But I mean, again, Tua situation. I think Jalen Hurts had a better rookie year than Tua on a smaller sample size, of course. But I don't know. It's just not fair to Jalen Hurts because you put him in a dysfunctional situation and it's going to look like it's going to continue to be dysfunctional. So being at 12, it looks like they're going to give him one season to prove himself, which, cool, you're giving this poor young dude one season. What are you going to do, trade him if he's not what your expectations are? I don't even know what your expectations are because you're setting him up to fail. But, I mean, at 12, they might take receivers, but whatever's in the water in Philadelphia, every player there gets hurt, especially receivers. So maybe go O-line. Your defense was kind of very inconsistent last year. Like, you guys can honestly take whatever you need at that pick. Just get Jalen Hurts some help, man. If you guys are being bad next season, it's probably not going to be because of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts honestly looked good last season. So yeah, I think trading back is just their way of going, okay, we can get some more picks for this. And also, they're in a great situation because next season, they will have 2 first-round picks. And then if Wentz turns out to be good with the Colts, they get 3 first-round picks. Which, okay, cool. Let's say, there's no quarterback in that draft. You have 3 first-round picks. You can trade one of those because one team's going to be desperate. And you could probably trade for future picks if you want to take a quarterback in the next year. So, yeah, I think those are my main thoughts about the whole trade situation between the Niners to the Dolphins to the Eagles. I'm curious what you guys have to think about it and what you guys think the teams are going to do. Coming up, we're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline and the winners and losers of that, as well as So stick around for that. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Training Camp Podcast. If you guys didn't miss it, last leg we did talk about the news of the week, as well as just my thoughts on the whole San Francisco, Miami, and Philadelphia trade for the draft picks, which that's just kind of crazy. I know I don't talk a lot about the draft. I don't really know a lot about it. If you do want to learn about the draft, maybe go check out Parker and JP's Twitters. You can check those out in the description. They do so many draft boards. They know a lot about prospects. And Parker does not like, and I completely agree with him, PFF's rankings for certain things and how they grade certain players. So he's doing his own. So make sure you guys show that some love. And JP literally will teach you about everything about upcoming draft players and draft boards on his new Twitter, Draft McGee. So there'll be links in the description. You guys want to check those out. Anyway, in this, first thing we're going to talk about, NBA trade deadline happened last week after the podcast. So here's story time. So you guys know I record the podcasts on Wednesdays and they go up on Thursdays. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but trade deadline was Thursday. I probably could have had a really entertaining podcast if I had recorded on Thursdays. And so I wake up to a Snapchat from Omona, and it says, LOL, you should have waited to record the podcast. And I was like, that's a weird message to wake up to, but he's probably right because today's the trade deadline. I thought he was just like, because today's the trade deadline, yada, yada, yada. But then I hopped on the Twitter, and I see that Vucevic was traded to the Bulls. Really? Really? Seriously? Why? Why didn't this happen the day before? Why couldn't this? Okay. So we're just going to talk about the biggest trades. You had Vucevic go to the Bulls. You had Aaron Gordon go to the Nuggets, which I called, by the way. I think I got the package pretty damn close, too. You had Oladipo go to the Heat. And then you had, oh, God. Who went to the Sixers? It's only the topic of this show to talk about sports. But, yes, the big three were Vucevic to the Bulls, Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets, and then Oladipo to the Heat. And so we're gonna talk about the biggest trades, and we're gonna talk about the winners and the losers from the trade deadline. Let's talk about the winners first. Let's be positive. Real quick. So number one, biggest winner, obviously the Bulls. The Bulls 100% are winner of the trade deadline. Not only, I know Vucevic is older, but he's also one of the best centers in the league right now. let alone just be. I mean, the fact that he's a perimeter guy helps so much, that he has a 3-point shot. But he's also a great defender, good rebounder. He's got a mid-range. He's got post moves. He's athletic for the most part. Good defensive anchor. Great for them. Also, he could be a great mentor if they want to take a bigger man next year's draft, because I know Markkanen's contract is expiring, and he's probably he's gonna get overpaid, honestly. But the Bulls probably aren't gonna pay for that, and they're gonna want to draft another guy. And Vucevic could be a great mentor for that. So the Bulls are definitely a winner here. The next winner, we got the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets, the reason I thought Aaron Gordon should go to the Nuggets was because it opened up the floor for them. Not only can, Jokic, not only can Jokic shoot threes and, give them that spacing, but now you have Aaron Gordon who can do the exact same thing. You now can do whatever you want with this team. Aaron Gordon can play make, honestly. You have Jokic who can play make. You only gave up Gary, not only give, but like Gary Harris was the big piece in that trade, so you didn't lose too much offensively. You still have Jamal Murray, who's a great playmaker. You have 3 great starting playmakers now. And so you can do whatever you want. You can run the offense through whoever you want now. And also, you kind of got younger. I think Aaron Gordon also, one of the things I touched on last week was that teams play him at the Magic were playing him at the 3 for some reason. Like they're playing him as a small forward, power forward, when in reality, he's a power forward center, like a small ball center. And so now you don't have to run Jokic as much. I know Jokic doesn't really have an issue when it comes to like load management and getting fatigued or injured, but you don't want to risk it because centers traditionally have a history of getting injured a lot easier than any other position, just because of their size, especially the height. And so, yes, the Nuggets are 100% a winner. I kind of touched on this in News of the Week when I was talking about the Drummond signing to the Lakers. This also is one of the biggest threats towards the Lakers. It would not surprise me if they finish as like the 2, or if they somehow dethrone the Jazz as the 1 seed in the West. Just because they have so much talent, and they're also a great young team. We saw Bol hit a freaking step back. So yes, the Denver Nuggets 100% not only got better, but won at the trade deadline. Another winner, the Heat. How? Pat Riley amazes me. You amaze me. Like, seriously, you got Oladipo for a bag of chips. Now, granted, he might not re-sign, but you got him for half of a year. Also, the Heat are like oddly back somehow. The first half of the season, the season so far, they looked like dog shit. And now they're kind of back. And I think it's a testament to Jimmy Butler and his leadership abilities, even though he hasn't played the entire season. But he's definitely helping out with that. They're also just kind of coming into their own. And now you add Oladipo into that. Yes, that's great. That you guys definitely easily are now a top 4 seed in the West or in the East. And if you guys start playing how you guys played in last year's postseason, then you guys could honestly finish as a 2 or a 3 seed. It's going to be really hard to dethrone either the Sixers or the Nets. I know the Bucks are on like a streak right now, but the Bucks are streaky just because of Budenholzer as their coach. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Nets or if the Bucks did finish as like 4 or 5. But yes, Miami, you guys got 100% better, and yeah, it's awesome. Good for you guys. I honestly was worried about you guys, especially at the end of last season. I was like, can the Heat even get back to the finals? I don't know if you guys can, just because of the Nets now getting LaMarcus. But I think this definitely helped you guys out tremendously. Another winner, the Magic. You guys got stacked up on picks. I know some people would consider you guys a loser of the trade deadline because you guys lost so many good players, but honestly, Vucevic is getting older. Aaron Gordon obviously didn't want to be there anymore, and you got compensated very well for it. I honestly thought that because Magic have been kind of dysfunctional over the past little bit, and so I was like, yeah, they're probably going to not get enough for what they should for whoever they end up trading. I didn't think they would trade Vucevic, but they did get compensated heavily, and I think the compensation was fair. They didn't get robbed in any way. We'll talk about someone who got robbed later. But yeah, so Orlando got much better. They're also injury plagued right now. I mean, their first round pick right now is still hurt. I think Markel's still out. So yeah, I mean, even the Fournier trade was a win for them too. So I think the Magic came out of this with a buttload of picks, some injuries that are going to get healthier, and a team that is also going to get younger. So they may not be better the next 2 years, but 3 or 4 years, it would not surprise me if they're a top 5-4 seed in the East. It also depends on who their coach is at that time. And the last winner, the 76ers. They didn't do too much, but I think they did enough to help out their team. They added depth for the most part, And honestly, I think it was just a smart move for the team. Daryl Morey is the GM, so it doesn't surprise me. But just with the way that Doc Rivers has been coaching this team is, in my mind, really like the biggest threat to the Nets. And I think one of the biggest things that can help them out with that is if their starting five that has, yes, I think that they're still undefeated, I believe, as a starting five. But if they play most of the playoffs, the depth that they have now accrued for their bench will help them out tremendously against a team like the Nets, who have more of firepower on the starting line. Now they do have two pieces on the bench with LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, but that's kind of it on the bench for the most part. So I think the depth is going to be one of the biggest things. They added more depth to the team, and I think that's the biggest thing that the 76ers needed if they wanted to dethrone the Nets, which obviously is their biggest obstacle towards the finals. So good on you guys, Sixers. Let's go to the losers. Houston, what the fuck? That's all you could get for Oladipo? I said we're going to talk about robbed. You guys didn't get robbed. You guys got cleaned out. Like, you guys got embarrassed. I thought you guys were going to do a great thing with Oladipo, and you were going to kind of, like, the Magic did a better job than you guys did. And the part of your trade was Harden. Like, Oladipo came because of the Harden trade. So, Harden, what looked like could have been a better, like, more assets. You guys fumbled the bag hard. You guys fumbled the bag hard. I don't want to talk about this for too much longer because it just makes me sad. But yes, you guys are probably the biggest loser of the trade deadline. The Lakers, yes. I mean, I know that they did get Drummond, but that's not a trade. I think they probably could have done a little bit more at the deadline. I think one of the players I don't know if they did, but they should have explored was Dennis Schroeder. Maybe getting just very similar to the Sixers. They need more depth, especially with like the injury right now. I doubt LeBron's going to play the rest of the season or AD. I think they're just going to sit them for the rest of the postseason. But they're going to enter the playoffs as like a 6, 7, 8 seeds. So they're going to be playing one of the top seeds, and they need the depth. And they didn't do it. They just didn't make any moves. And so I think that automatically makes them a loser at the trade deadline because they just didn't do anything. The Celtics, what? You guys were almost the robbery award for the trade deadline. Seriously? Fournier was the best player you guys could get? Really? You guys didn't like make a run for who I thought you guys should have, which was Miles Turner. You guys didn't make a run for any bigger names. You didn't make a run for Oladipo. I know it doesn't really fit your scheme, but still, it's better than Fournier. You went for a guard, so why not get Oladipo? I don't know what you guys were doing. You guys had the $17 million trade exception. You guys didn't really use it. You guys also traded not Tice. Who'd you guys trade to the Cavs? I don't fucking remember. Obviously, it's not good enough, or it's not memorable enough. So yeah, you guys probably could have moved someone like Marcus Smart too, but you didn't do that. So yes, I don't know what your guys' thought process was. The Knicks were only a loser in my mind because they could have made moves that would have made them better. I mean, they're already much better than we all anticipated them to be. I mean, everyone kind of anticipates the Knicks to just be a consistent like bottom 5 team, and they are surprising the hell out of us. Also, my bad, I disrespected Julius Randle last week because I was like, I forgot who's the other player. I can't remember his name. I just totally forgot it's Julius Randle. Yeah, they didn't make any moves. I thought Oladipo would have been perfect for New York, not only just because like the team needed him and could use him well, but also if you're living in New York, that might kind of persuade you to re-sign with the team on a cheaper deal because you're in New York, and you're playing for the Knicks, like the Knicks. The Knicks are the New York team, not the Nets. The Nets just happen to have all the players right now. But they just didn't make any. It's very similar to the Lakers. They just didn't make any moves, and so I thought, the Lakers and the Knicks were both in situations where like they should have made moves, and if they made moves, it would have no matter the move, it would have helped them out, and they just didn't. And so I think it just makes them a loser because they didn't get anything at all. I still think they'll probably make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll go that far if they even get out of the first round, just because now they haven't really added that much to it, and they did have players that they could have drafted, and they did have players and picks like the picks that they got from the Mavericks for the Porzingis trade. They could have moved, but they didn't. And lastly, the New Orleans Pelicans. I think 2 players you guys should have traded were Lonzo and Eric Bledsoe. Bledsoe obviously just doesn't care about basketball anymore, apparently. Like, he just doesn't try, it feels like. You guys probably could have gotten something for him, if not like just a second at least, and maybe a role player. And then Lonzo, he's going to be expensive next year, and you guys didn't move off of him. I don't know why you didn't. Maybe the maybe the offers weren't good enough. I thought he was probably going to go to the 76ers and they were going to get a couple of picks and a role player, but that didn't happen. That would have made the Sixers even bigger winners. That would have happened. I thought that would have been a perfect fit for them. But yeah, no, you guys just didn't make the moves. Maybe you guys sneak into the playoffs. I really doubt it, honestly, just because of the way the West is starting to turn out, with especially like the Mavericks getting steam. The Lakers, I know, are dropping, but are probably going to just lock up the 6, 7, or 8 seed. Yeah, no, and Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, Zion, like they're just getting older. I know they're not old, but you don't want to waste their younger years, and it kind of feels like you are. I think the biggest missed opportunity though was 100% just trading Eric Bledsoe, getting a player that actually kind of like wants to be there. Nothing against Eric Bledsoe, I just think the system doesn't really work for him. And then also there was a whole JJ Redick situation. So yeah, you guys were a loser as well. Those are my thoughts on the trade deadline. I'm curious what you guys have to say. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. Let's move on to the last segment. It's time for But I Mean. Do I have to explain But I Mean? You'll figure it out. You'll catch on. So, number 1. I know they probably won't make the conference finals because the Lakers are going to be a lower seed and stacked and just going to be a whole situation. But I mean, why isn't Donovan Mitchell in the MVP conversation? Like, the Jazz are the 1 seed in the West right now. And like I said, they're probably going to have to, there's a good chance they might face the Lakers in the first round. They'll probably not get out of. But, like, they're the 1 seed. Donovan Mitchell has been on a fucking tear lately. And he's the main reason they are that 1 seed. Now, I do have to definitely give my praise, like Quinn Snyder, the scheme of the Jazz, the defensive prowess of 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, likely 3-time Rudy Gobert, and all the role players that they've been given in. Also, Jordan Clarkson deserves a lot of credit, too. But, like, Donovan Mitchell is the anchor of this team, and he's not even getting chatter about MVP conversations. Now that LeBron's not injured and most likely not going to get it, why can't we at least bring him up? Like, no respect for any... The Jazz get no respect from the league. Listen, I live in Utah. I hear that shit all the time, but it's kind of true. A lot of the time, they don't get respect from the league. Now, when Jazz fans are saying really stupid shit, you know what you say. You know who you are. This actually isn't a Mona. This is just people in general. Mona's a very realistic Jazz fan. But, like... A lot of Jazz fans feel like their team gets disrespected, and like 90% of the time, it's like, you're debatable. But like this season, 100%. 100%. And I think Donovan Mitchell has been the most disrespected person. I don't know how he's not in the MVP conversation. Yeah. Number 2. I know the Nets now have like every single Infinity Stone. You know, they got Kyrie, they got Durant, they got Harden, they got LaMarcus, they got Blake. Anyways, and they're basically a lock for the finals. But I mean, why can't they pull the 2020 Clippers and get bounced early? Everyone thought the Clippers were at least a lock for the conference finals, and they didn't even get that far. Why can't the Nets get eliminated in the first or second round of the playoffs, or maybe even just the conference finals? You got the Bucks, like I said, who I know they've been on a streak and have been streaky because of Mike Budenholzer, but hey, Giannis is Giannis. I know playoff Giannis is kind of different, but still, you have the depth the 76ers now have accrued and how well their starting 5 have played together. That could honestly help them out in the long run. And then there's also just shocker teams. I mean, last season, the Nuggets were the ones that eliminated the Clippers. No one would have expected that. So it could be one of those bottom teams. Like, imagine like Charlotte does it, or the Knicks. Like, that'd be wild. So yeah, why not? It won't happen, but why not? And lastly, I know the Jets are like 95% likely going to select a quarterback. But I mean, why not hang on to Sam Darnold for a year and get him some help? Like, yes, I'm not going to lie, very similar to the San Francisco situation. I think drafting at number 2 a quarterback like Zach Wilson and having him sit for a year behind Sam Darnold and doing the same thing like, oh, Sam Darnold, he's 7-2 at the trade deadline. Cool, we'll trade him for a low first, high second, and then let Zach Wilson play out the rest of the season. Or just the vice versa, we're 0-7 right now. We'll just put in Zach Wilson and either, trade Darnold for nothing or release him. Yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do. But also at the same time, like, we have seen what happens when players get out of the Gase system. Why not give Sam Darnold one more year? Honestly, you have an accrual of picks. So if you need to, you guys can trade in the future, and you guys can again take a gap year again, build up your team with the draft that isn't likely going to have good quarterbacks, get better players like offensive line. I mean, obviously you guys have a good offensive line right now, or a better offensive line right now. But like again with this second overall pick, why not take Penei Sewell and then I apologize if I said that wrong, and then help Sam Darnold get protection. He now has weapons because of free agency. You also have more picks. So yeah, like, okay, cool. It doesn't work out, whatever. Sam Darnold's going to be cheap. Or you could pick up his 5th-year option, super cheap, and then he plays one more year. But I mean, seriously, we've seen what happens with the Gase system, and I think Sam Darnold is going to be another positive effect of leaving the Gase system. It would not surprise me at all. He was the second overall pick for a reason. So I think just give him a chance. Why not? Why not give him a chance? You never know if you don't ever at least see it. But it's probably not going to happen. So as a quick recap, I know that they're probably not going to make the conference finals because they're going to have to face the Lakers. But I mean, why isn't Donovan Mitchell in the MVP conversation? I know the Nets now own the Infinity Gauntlet and are about to snap. But I mean, why can't they get bounced in the first or second or third round of the playoffs? And I know the Jets are likely to take a quarterback, but I mean, why can't they just let Sam Darnold have 1 year outside of the NBA system? Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast today. I'm excited. We are approaching a huge milestone next week. I'm also excited for the next upcoming podcast. And honestly, just thank you guys for the support. I can't stress it enough how much I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. If you guys have anything you guys want me to talk about, if you guys have any thoughts, drop in the comments. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave this episode here. Make sure to check out the description for some special links for you guys that you guys can always check out. And also, as well as the links to our Spotify app and Apple Podcast links. And there's also the Instagram down there as well. Also, make sure to give JP and Parker a follow. So, I want to thank you guys for coming to the podcast today. And I'll see you guys next episode of the podcast. I'll see you guys later.